beginning, I didn't know what was happening. But in addition to that effect, tranq leaves horrible wounds on your body.
Right.
Um, and that's more of the like moderate to long term tranq use. But I started to notice even in the beginning, like where I would miss a little bit, I would get these pock marks or these tiny abscesses that would happen of
Damn.
just like an open wound. Just grievous wounds eventually turned up on my body as I spent more time in Kensington.
Prove to me that you are alive.
All the drugs and all the, what we call chemical drugs, as opposed to weed being natural, is that with all the drugs, like when you get high, you don't feel guilt, you don't feel nothing. But for some reason, with me, with weed, like I'd feel guilty right away. Like my conscience would kick in. Like I start thinking about all sorts of shit.
I feel like I'm in like a fun house, like a hall of mirrors, and I'm seeing all these different versions of myself. And,
Right,
some are ugly and some are nice, and like I'm just
right.
it forces this like mirror on this internal reflection that
Yeah,
just
weed does that. That's why I don't, I'm not quick to put it in the drugs category, but obviously it is a gateway drug for a lot of people. I know I'm the same way. I tried weed for the first time 15 years old, and that's when you cross that line.
yeah.
Listen, my brother, we've been here for over 2 hours. So if you want to like put a pause and we'll do a part two or whatever, it's up to you, because I don't want to like
I
torture
mean,
you and
I'm
stuff.
no,
It's
I mean
past.
honestly, I'm chilling.
You
It's up
chilling?
it's
You
up to
good?
you, man, but I'm chilling, yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
cool, man. So you you know, you you thinking of smoking that weed to kind of like get another spiritual experience because you just reapplied, man. So what
Yeah.
happens? Did you end up smoking?
Yeah, I did. I smoked and I'm like in tears like facing this part of myself that just relapsed and is like let everybody down again, let myself down again, let my family down and all this and I'm like I got to do something. So I go to treatment. I was getting high for about a week. So I go to treatment and that's when I first really like hear about Kensington's because I was in there with a couple of guys who were from there.
Mm.
Um so I hear about Kensington and my my boy, I actually ran into him down there, but Mike, his name was, and he told me he's like, stay away, bro. He's like, stay away from Kensington. People get stuck down there. Like everybody glamorizes it into being this junkie wonderland. And he's like, it is. He's like, that's exactly what it is, and you'll get stuck there, and it's gonna kill you. So stay away. Um, and, and I took that as a warning, but it always stuck in the back of my mind, like Kensington is this junkie wonderland. So yeah, yeah, it is. It really is, man. And I don't say that lightly or like even in a humorous way because it's an ugly thing. I driving through Kensington, you see people folded, laid out on the street. Just uh, it's a wasteland. It's a wasteland. And
I don't think if no one has ever been to like a Skid Row or a Kensington, because you know, as you said, we're kind of speaking about it lightly, but even if you think about America and the continental United States of America, like Kensington and Skid Row are these infamous places because almost every big city, from Portland to LA to wherever, like a lot, the big cities, they all have problems. But to this extent, I think there's two infamous places. It's Skid Row on the West Coast and it's Kensington on the East. And
Yep.
if you never been to it, because I used to like do Uber Eats, man, when I moved around Philly and Jersey from New York, because I grew up in New York, man. But when I moved, I started doing Uber Eats, and I would do Uber Eats throughout Philly, man. And I would do Uber Eats at night. So I would pull up to Kensington in the middle of the night to like a Chinese joint or whatever. That was like one of the only places that be open.
Yeah.
And it's a whole other universe. I don't think anyone can imagine. It's like
Not until
this,
you've been there.
yeah, it's like this vortex that has, a magnetic force where it's sucking in people with, tremendous problems. And when you see these people, you realize that they are on the border of like a human being to some sort of a only animalistic, instinctual type of, existence and behavior. It's a very Twilight Zone kind of surreal places. And I've been all over the world, man. I've been to Africa. I was raised in Ukraine in the 90s, where was a third world and everything. But yet when you see Kensington, it was life changing for me, man. So you only heard about it, your friend is telling you don't go, but then the adrenaline, junkie side of you is probably in the back of your head, like, oh man, I gotta go see this shit, man. So what happened, man?
So I get out of this rehab and I get sober for another year and a half. Um, in that period of time, I get hired at the jail. So I'm working at as a state corrections officer. So you go through the academy once you get hired, and it's a 5 week training program. You stay on site and you go home on the weekends. So you're there for 5 weeks with the weekends off. Um, and they train you how to be a CO. They train you how to handcuff people, how to pepper spray people. You have to get pepper sprayed. They they train you how to take inmates down and how to defend yourself and how to make a radio call and the emergency protocols that are in place if something
Mhm,
goes wrong and just the ins and outs. Um, but they can't teach you everything in 5 weeks. So you have like a year and a half training program in the jail after
mhm.
that. Um,
I
and that's
think
where
it's
you
one of the toughest police officer jobs, man, if you ask me, man. Because and I remember, when I would frequent jail, let's say like that, is I would realize is, all right, I'm here for like a couple of weeks, but these dudes, the COs, I mean, they're coming in the morning and leaving at night, and they're doing this day in and day out, bro.
you
Um,
do time as a CO.
yeah, this is it's a crazy job, man. Psychologically, I'm sure spiritually. So how was it for you, man, during this training period?
So they warned us about what we're getting ourselves into. You had some people there who were like cops, current cops working there to try to get, do some weekends in the jail or whatever. But they warn us what it's like. They warn us corrections officer has one of the highest rates of suicide,
Yeah,
highest rates of addiction or alcoholism,
yeah.
highest rates of divorce, highest rates of heart attack, highest rates of depression. Like
Domestic
it's
abuse, all of that,
yeah,
bro,
all
because
of it,
it's
all of it
hard to
because of the
handle, man.
stress. Yeah, because you go to jail every day. But not like but but the thing is, most of those guys hate you, right?
Right. Of
When you're
course.
in when you're in jail, you're there with your boys. You find your group and
Yeah.
you be with them. And in prison, like I ran a block when
Mm,
I ran J Block at SCI Dallas in Pennsylvania, man. Like it's called the Jungle Block. Um, that's what they call it. It's its nickname. There's you got most of your people in there are there for drug related crimes
mhm.
in some form or fashion, whether it's a DUI or domestic because the guy gets drunk and beats up on his wife, or I mean, even sex crimes often are drug related.
Right. Mm,
People get all spun out and do things that they should not do. Um, so you have that, and then you have like the animalistic tendencies towards the far end of that spectrum. That
Right.
and there are people who deserve to be there. We had one guy who man, he was a psycho. He killed his wife with his friend, cut an unborn baby out of her stomach,
Wait, what?
sexually assaulted the baby to death, and then played tic tac toe on his dead wife's stomach with his friend.
So hold on, he was high? Like, is that what it was?
I don't know. I don't know if he was high. I mean,
So how was he? How was he? How was he there? How was he not like in? I don't know, like in a box or something. Like, how did they keep
because
him?
he was like 30 years in of a life sentence, and that part of him was
Damn.
tamed out of him, I guess, from being in a box for so long. But yeah, he was an old man, and that's what he did.
Oh my god, man.
Yeah.
So did you have any crazy experiences during that time? That year
Um.
and a half?
So nothing ever happened to me directly. I was I was a fair CO, and even being a fair CO, that doesn't always count for much if somebody has a grudge for whatever reason. I mean, you
Nah,
could have
you're
wrote this
you're the enemy still, man.
right,
Like, yeah.
right. You could have wrote this guy up 6 months ago, and he's planning to stab you up from that day, and he's just waiting for an opportunity. So you never know who's plotting on you. So you're always watching your back, and it's dangerous. Um, can be. Uh, so the one time a friend of mine I actually grew up with, he was working there and he got assaulted. So it was like a lifer who wanted to change jails. He didn't want to be in Dallas anymore, and he decided that he's gonna change change jails, and the fastest way to do that is to assault an officer. So
Damn.
he mixes up this you know this mixture of pretty much every bodily fluid that you can imagine, and throws it on my boy,
Damn.
and then spears him and starts punching on him. So the call comes over the radio. Happened on B block. So you call phonetically. So that's Alpha Bravo Charlie Delta Echo
Mhm.
Foxtrot Golf. Um, so you call that over the radio because E block can sound like B block on a radio. So you say
Right, right.
Bravo, right?
Mhm.
So the call comes over Bravo, Bravo, Bravo. Three calls in succession means staff assault.
Wow.
Sometimes you don't have time to say staff assault. You just, your adrenaline spikes and it's Bravo,
Mhm.
Bravo, Bravo. So a call comes over the radio. I start running. I'm going. Get to the block, run up in, and the smell hits me first because he just threw a bunch of shit
Right.
and on this dude, and
Crazy.
yeah, the smell hits me. I'm like, ah. So I look over and they're on the ground wrestling, and a girl I was in the academy with was working on the block with him that day. This little 110-pound nothing chick is like doing what she can. Um, and I was lifting at the time and going to the gym, so I'm like 230 muscle, like
Yeah, I
six
seen you.
one.
You were a big guy, man.
Yeah, yeah. So I run over, I rip this dude off him, handcuff him, and then we take him back, and my boy goes and gets cleaned up. I get cleaned up because I got shit and stuff on me from wrestling them apart, and um so yeah, that's probably the most extreme thing that happened while I was working there. um
I want to ask
yeah,
you. I want to ask you about the psychology of, and I don't know if you ever stood back and kind of thought about this as you were a CO. As you are a CO, so at the same time you were also a person that was on the other side. So, like, how was that to make that connection, or were you sort of a different person once you were, a clean for a little bit and a CO? Like, did it cross your mind that like I was on the other side too? I was one of these
of
guys at
course.
one point.
Yeah, of course, of course. And I talked to some of the inmates about that, and I tried to use that as a position to maybe show them that there can be a better way for them, and that
Right.
they don't have to be stuck in this kind of lifestyle. Like,
Mhm.
hey, I lived this one time too, and I don't anymore. So like, if I can do it, you can. You know. So I tried to do that. I mean, a lot of the dudes they just simply don't want to hear. What's up? What's up? Uh, yeah, yeah. Hold on. Say hi to Nas. Nas is doing a
How you
podcast.
doing? How are you? Hi.
That's telling my
Podcasting
story.
about his incredible story, man. Yeah, incredible story, amazing. Yeah,
Yeah,
man, you're you know to answer your dad and you know and I'm going to say this, I'm going to scream this a million times is that you know, you have such a unique story, and I'll say this again, that I know for sure that everything you went through, you know, is for a reason. It's because I don't want to go as deep as like the story of Christ, but if you think about that Christ died for our sins, I think what you went through is for a lot of people that you will end up impacting, and that I'm sure you already impacted, man, you know, because
I'm
that video,
trying.
yeah, that video that you did, it's so impactful, you know, that interview, and this interview, you know, we're going a little deeper, and your book and everything. So, you know, God give you the strength, man, you know, to keep going, because I think ultimately that's why you're here. You're here to pre-warn and save a lot of people. And if you imagine that, even if you save one kid, you know, from going down that path,
One, just one, man.
it's already a remarkable thing. And I know how hard it is to get out of the life, man. You know, it's like a 0.0001%, you know, for someone to go as deep as you went and to actually get out, man. So to
It's really hard. Yeah,
answer your dad's question, man, that's what we're doing the podcast about, is the inspiration and the strength and the higher power and your willpower and the destiny and the journey. Like, this is incredible, man. um so during the,
it's a hell of a journey, man.
it's a hell of a journey, my brother. It's crazy as hell, man. I get goosebumps because I know what that life is like. I know how hard it is. I didn't go as deep as you, but you know, I know what it's like, and that's why I know it's remarkable even for one of us to get out the way you did, man. So when you're a CO, um you know, and you're going through this initial training period for a year and a half, and all this crazy stuff is happening, like, are you having urges at this time? Like, what does that feel like? Because you're going through this psychological trauma pretty much every day, man.
Yeah, so it was stressful. And I I held up for a while. Um, and I would still go to meetings here and there, but not as much as I was in the past. Um, I would be tired after work, even just if it's just mentally tired. You know, it takes a toll on you being in there.
What was your
And
schedule like? Were you there mornings, or you were you there overnight?
so I was there 2 to 10, so 2 p.m. to 10 p.m.
Right.
So that's the main shift for new hires that come on. So you go through your initial training schedule, which is you do day shift, second shift, and third
Hmm.
shift on a cycle, and then you get assigned to a shift. And it's usually 2 to 10. You can take night shift sometimes if you want, but I chose 2 to 10. That's where the action's at,
And
right?
that's the active hours, man. I was about to
It
say,
is.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's where the action is. 2 to 10. That's when things are happening. A lot of the guys they sleep until 4 p.m., you know? Um, so that's when everybody's up and doing their thing and yard is out and um, everything's happening. So that's the shift I took, and I was assigned to a block because I guess saw that I had some kind of potential and wanted to put me on a block. You know,
Mhm.
you get a block if you're like um I don't know if you're seen. It's like almost a position of pride to be a block officer, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's like you become a manager of this one, you know what I'm saying, section,
Yeah,
man. I got a
200
question.
guys,
Yeah, I got what is it, 200 guys?
198 I had.
Oh, so yeah, practically 200 dudes. What I wanted to ask is, and I don't know if you can legally answer this, but during this time, did you get approached for, from anybody to for any contraband services or anything like that?
Yeah, only once directly, but so so during this time I'm working there, this psychological is taking its toll on me, and I'm not doing this stuff in the program, and eventually I'm hanging out with this girl, and she drops this dope at my house, and I pick up, and I've relapsed.
Wow.
Um,
What did you
at
do?
like
You snorted it or you shot
yeah,
it?
I sniffed it.
Okay.
I sniffed it. And I got high and I liked it and nothing bad happened. So and it shut my head off in the way that drugs do for me that I chase. I was numb and I didn't have to deal with the things that were going on inside of me. So I used this drug and fentanyl it was at the time. And that
Oh
was probably my
wow.
first experience with fentanyl. I did a half of a bag and I was completely wrecked. Much more so than I thought I was going to be off the amount that I did.
Hmm.
And I realized then that like that's why people die.
Right.
Uh, from like if I would have shot that amount that I sniffed, I definitely would
Probably
have
would have
overdosed
OD'd, right? Yeah.
for sure.
Yo, I don't know what it is. I don't know, like this is crazy. But when I tried fentanyl, it didn't get me high the same way dope did. Like, is
It
that weird?
doesn't. It doesn't work the same. I mean, it works on the same receptors, but it has a shorter period of activation, which means it
It didn't
doesn't.
get me as high, man. Like, I mean, I
Yeah.
snorted it, but it didn't get me as high as dope would, man. And I
So
always
it's
thought
like
that was weird.
fentanyl is like a sharp, intense spike,
Mhm.
and then it drops off pretty quickly. Whereas heroin gives you that same spike, but it
Right.
keeps you higher for longer.
Mhm.
Yeah, it works different chemically.
So what did you feel, man? You were smashed, and was the feeling of bliss back, like, or were you feeling guilty again?
I felt incredibly guilty. I felt like a hypocrite. Like I'm supposed to be guarding these guys who are in there for doing the same shit that I just did. Um, and I ran with that guilt and used drugs to cover that up more and more. So it began to spiral. And the more I would get high, the more I would feel guilty about it. Um, and I actually I ended up stealing. So my grandmother passed away, and she had
Nana or the other grandma that you live
grandma.
okay, okay.
Yeah, grandma. So Nana's still kicking. She just turned
Nice.
79.
Nice. God
Yeah,
bless her, man. Okay,
God
so
bless her.
you said grandma, so you said that this was what, like 2019 right now?
Yeah, 2019. So actually what happened is I actually took a couple of so she passed away and I was like already stressed with work. Grandma died and I came home to be with family and some of her pills were on the table and I took some of her methadone and that was actually the relapse. And then
Oh, wow.
2 days after that I hung out with this girl and she dropped this fentanyl. Um So I wasn't really planning on going on a run. I kind of took a couple of these pills and I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna take some pills and like just deal with this shit with grandma.
Mhm.
But it never works out that way, you know, and I really should have known better by that point. But it's the lie that I tell myself every time is that it's gonna be different or I'm gonna be able to control it or just do it once or so I end up doing that, and then I hang out with this girl and I do this fentanyl, and I was smoked, um, like scared smoked, and I don't get like that very often. Um, like being a bigger guy, I have like a higher metabolism and body
Hmm.
mass. Like I usually have to take more
Yeah.
than average to feel it, you know. So I was really I couldn't believe how messed up I got off the amount that I did. It was just a little bit. And so then I'm going to work and I get high again the next weekend. And
You
then
don't.
and then
I don't mean to interrupt you, but you guys don't
uh,
get P tested while you're a CO. Like,
not unless there's suspicion.
oh, okay, okay. I thought it was mandatory or whatever.
No, it's mandatory at higher, but not while you're working there. Um
So
now
you're
it
basically. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm not sure if it's in policy. Like I know a lot of places if you get hurt on the job, you have to take a drug test immediately.
Hmm.
But I'm not sure if I don't think they do that at the jail because um it's not an accident if you get attacked, like you were attacked. So it's not up to like potentially being impaired. So I don't think they do that. So no, it's random. They can drug test you if they want, but it's not very common. Um, Now something that they do is, um, so they have a hand scanner. So what they do is you'll come into work
Hmm.
and they do this randomly, like usually once every month. And what they'll do is they'll wipe your hands and then they put this piece of fabric into a scanner and it reads any compounds that are on your hand.
Any
So it'll,
residue, anything like that, right?
yep. So it'll tell you, I mean, it'll pick up nicotine. So
Wow.
it'll tell you if there's anything on your hands.
I
So
never
I
heard
would,
of that.
yeah, yeah, they have it's a hand scanner. It's pretty crazy. And I would, you're supposed to be able to beat it with alcohol. So I would wash my hands with alcohol before I went into work. Um, so
But
if the dress is,
how often are you getting high? Like, cause you just did that fentanyl once, you go back to work. So how
yeah,
long goes by before you get high again?
about a week. And then I start doing it twice a week, and then before I know it, I'm doing it every day. You know, it started out on the weekends, and by I don't know a month or two in, I was back to daily use.
So take me through a regular day of yours once you're back to everyday use, because right now, I mean, back then you're what we call a functional addict, right? So
Yeah,
so what does it look like? You wake up to go to work at around what, afternoon, because you're going for 2 o'clock, and like
yeah.
what happens? Do you get high before? Do you sneak away somewhere at work to get high? Are you snorting? Are you shooting? Like, take me through one day of yours back then.
So I'm shooting dope at this point. So my day started the night before. I would cop when I got out of work. So I would run up to my dude's house, I would get the drugs, and then I would come home, get high, go to sleep, wake up around, I don't know, 12, 11 or 12.
Hmm.
Um, I would get high and then I would bring shit with me. Um, and I would hide it down the street from the property of the jail
Oh
because
shit.
just in case anyone got suspicious, they can search your car. It's part of the contract.
Oh wow.
So so I would make sure I never had anything in my car and I would hide it down the street. So I would go on shift, um, and I would start to get sick because, like we talked about, fentanyl it doesn't
Yeah.
last very long. So I would start to get sick around 4 or 5 because I would do my shot around
Hmm.
1 or so because I would go into the jail for 1:30 to be on my post at 2.
Hmm.
So like 4 or 5 hours in, I'm already starting to get sick. So I'm starting to sweat and just be generally miserable the whole time I'm there. Um, I get out of work and go down the street, grab my stuff, get high, go cop more,
Oh,
rinse and
so you
repeat
wouldn't
every day.
actually get a chance to shoot up during work?
No, I didn't bring anything into work with me, so
No, I
I would
know, but
always
even like you didn't have. you weren't tempted to like sneak out, walk down the street, pick up your shit and shoot. Like
You
that's
can't
hard, man.
leave.
Oh, so you can't leave at all.
No, once
Holy
you're in the
shit.
gate, you're in for your shift.
Holy shit. And where were you shooting up as far as like on your body? Are you shooting up in your arm at this point?
Yeah, I would shoot in my arms, and I was doing coke too on the weekends.
Okay.
So I would shoot dope during the week and I would shoot speedballs on the weekend. So my arms are starting to get wrecked. So I start wearing long sleeves all the time. So we had a long sleeve uniform and I would wear that all the time. Um and like I feel like everybody can see these track marks on my arm.
Yeah, I was
And
gonna ask you, like, is anyone noticing at this point as far as in work or like your friends, anyone?
so the inmates started to catch on first.
Oh
Couple
shit.
yeah, a couple of them would say, "Yo, Rodney, we know you're high, bro. We know you're high." Like, um, you got to be doing something, perks or something. They could see it. I mean,
They
it
can
was
see
pretty
the
obvious.
signs, yeah.
Yeah. And I was only directly offered once, and it was towards the end of me working there when I was starting to get bad. Like even I think the staff was even catching on. There was rumors that I'm on drugs. Um, so it was one night after lock in, when they were locked in for the night, and I was making one of my final rounds, and a dude called me over and he's like, "Yo," he's like, I can get you a better deal on this shit than you're getting, right?"
Mhm.
I'm like, I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Like trying to play dumb. And
Mhm.
he's like, "I know you're getting I can get you." I'm like, "Listen, bro, stop, like stop right now.
Oh, so you
Don't
weren't hearing it? Cause that's
no,
tempting as hell, bro. Like,
it was tempting,
yeah,
but
you pretty much would be getting free shit, man. Cause it's
uh,
super expensive inside, man.
yeah, yeah, I know. And I didn't want to cross that line because once you do, you're not in control anymore. They control you.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so
Because they would know, man. So at any point they could blackmail you or do anything
anything.
else. But again, I'm going back to like this remarkable willpower that is not, you know, characteristic to an addict, man. Like you had these, you know what I'm saying? It was at the time where when you were stealing jewelry, but yet you didn't take this one ring, you know, um at the time where you were able to stop for like 5 years or 2 years, and then you get, you're getting high, man. You're sprung out, you're shooting up, you get this what seems like to be a perfect offer, man. All you gotta do is bring shit in, you get shit for free, and yet you're once again able to say no, man. What was it? Like, if you're to pinpoint, was it fear at the moment, or is it just this remarkable of a willpower that that you had, man?
I didn't want to be a dirty CO. Um, I was already dirty enough doing what I was doing for me, and I didn't want to be the dude that's bringing shit in for these guys.
That's
And
incredible.
and if I get caught, to put that name on my family because my dad was working there still at the time, and my brother was working there too, and to put the shame on Rodney
Wow.
as that guy who's bringing it in. I didn't want that to be me.
That's remarkable, my brother. That in itself, man, just adds to your story, man, of like, because you have such a unusual characteristic. It's like on one side it's like you're an addict and a fiend at one point, but then there's like a whole other bud like that's this straight edge, bro, and has like these morals and ethics that you just won't cross. And I don't know if you will find this to be true, but I always argue with people, because people always say, well, once there's two types of people you don't trust in the hood: a dope fiend and a crackhead, because they say that once you cross certain lines, you know what I'm saying, they are the lines that a normal human being won't cross, and it's the drugs that's doing it to the person. But I always say that if a person has certain character, certain morals and certain ethics already embedded in them, it doesn't matter if you're a dope fiend or a crackhead or whatever, like you just will not cross these lines. For example, I know dudes that were fiend out, but they wouldn't like do sexual favors for drugs, or they wouldn't
Right.
sell, they ate, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter how deep or how bad they got, man. And it seems like you had the same thing, man. And so do you agree with that, that if you have a certain set of rules embedded in you or a part of your personality, that you just won't cross it for nothing?
Um, I th- I think I think honestly that you could probably cross any line, but it like for me, it just was something that I was unwilling to do.
Hmm.
Um, now put me in that position for 3 more years, 2 more years, and
Right.
ask me again, maybe my willpower is worn down to the point where I
Right.
say yes.
Hmm.
But at that point in time, it was something that I wouldn't compromise my integrity in that way further
Wow.
than I already had.
Wow. And
So
that's another important point, man. Integrity, because again, once we get super deep into, and it's usually, heroin, crack, meth that will do this to you, is that you lose that integrity. You know what I'm saying? Like you end up losing it. You shove it off, shove it down somewhere, you lock it away somewhere inside. So you didn't end up going through with this. So how far along did you get into your CO career while being a functional addict?
I was about 2 years in, probably about 2 years, and, I mean, it really started to fall apart right around 20 months or so, 21 months, and, I had started going to Kensington during that time.
Oh wow.
So what happened is, my, my girl,
Why did you go to Kensington? I know that you're about to tell your story about your girl, but
yeah,
what was the initial point? To get shit? Because obviously you were able to get shit back where you are. Like, why did you go to Kensington?
it was cheaper and stronger, cheaper
Mm,
and stronger. So my girl, she was my friend at the time, and she hit me up and, said that she had relapsed and asked if I was getting high because she had heard that I was.
mm-hmm,
I said, "Yeah." She asked if I could get her stuff, so I did that for a couple of weeks, month maybe. Um, and the stuff up here was expensive and not that great. Um, so she said, "Well, I know my way around Kensington. I can take you down there and we can get shit there and it's cheaper." So I was game. That sounded good to me. Um, so we went down the one day. We made the plan for a weekend when I was off. We went down and we copped and work working at the prison and simultaneously copping in Kensington was this crazy like mental dissonance that
right.
even still when I think about it is like I can't even wrap my head around it. Like it's total opposite ends of the spectrum. The first time I
Exactly.
went to Kensington, I could not believe what I was seeing. Um and she told me like dress down, make sure you don't look, she's like, you
Mm-hmm,
look like a cop. She's like,
mm-hmm.
dress down because you look like a cop and they're not going to sell to us. So I tried to, and she's like, that's not enough. She's like, you don't understand where we're going. I'm like, no, like I don't, I've never been
Yeah.
there. And she had been in Kensington for like a year, close to a year, homeless in the past. So she she took the reins in this, and we went down. And I don't know if you know where Somerset is at, but
Yeah.
we copped on Somerset. We parked on Tusculum, and we we were walking down the street, and I remember seeing all these just needles everywhere, empty bags on the ground, needle wrappers, garbage everywhere, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I'm like, wow,
Mm.
it's really what they talk about. It's really what it looks like in the videos. Like it's crazy. Like that's what it's gonna be, but you almost can't even believe it. And yeah, we went to Kensington, and she copped, and that was my first experience with tranq dope. Um, now
Yeah,
tranq was
what is that, bro? So basically, because even I'm not familiar with it. So from what I hear, it's a animal tranquilizer, horse tranquilizer.
it's a horse tranquilizer, so it's called xylazine, and they use it for horses to sedate horses, and they mix it in with the fentanyl because fentanyl doesn't have a very long period of activation, right? So it doesn't get you high for very long. So what the tranq does is it mimics an opiate in the effect of the drowsiness and the long term buzz that you get. So what you get is the initial spike rush from the fentanyl, then the tranq takes over, and you ride that out until you pass out, and then you wake up and do it again. So that's why they're mixing it. It gives the illusion of a better high for cheaper.
Crazy.
Yeah, but there's really bad side effects from tranq, and I started to experience those almost immediately. So the first time I did it, I knew that there was something different about it, but I didn't know what it was. And once we copped there once, we started going down weekly, then twice a week, and 3 times a week until eventually my life kind of just spiraled apart completely. And I called off from work at the jail on the Family Medical Leave Act, FMLA. And um, I started to notice these side effects from the tranq, and it was low blood pressure. So it tanks your blood pressure to the point where if you stand up, you almost black out or do black out. And this was happening to me. So I started going to a doctor, and I told them I openly admitted to drug use, but they still couldn't figure out what it was. Xylazine was a whole new thing at that time, and that was like 2020, um, right as COVID was starting to hit.
Right.
Yeah, so I I would stand up and I would black out, and I would get really dizzy and have to sit down, or like I would have to like bend over. Like the blood rushing to my head is what would do it, and I
Mhm.
would see stars and almost go out. So eventually, once I built a tolerance to the tranq, that stopped. But at the beginning, I didn't know what was happening. But um, in addition to that effect, tranq leaves horrible wounds on your body.
Right.
Um, and that's more of the like moderate to long term tranq use. But I started to notice even in the beginning, like where I would miss a little bit, I would
Mhm.
get these pock marks or these tiny abscesses that would happen
Damn,
of
bro.
just like an open wound
Hmm.
that would happen. And I can send you some pictures if you want to. You could throw these in.
Yeah.
But they're just grievous wounds eventually turned up on my body as I spent more time in Kensington.
So hold
Just
on. So I don't. Again, sorry for interrupting you, but
No, you're
so,
fine. You're
so
fine.
you take this leave from work, but you're still kind of leading a normal life, but now you're traveling back and forth to Kensington. So you're shooting up trank with fentanyl, but you're not yet on the streets, right? Is that correct?
Right, right. So I'm still staying at home with my family. Um, so actually, to rewind a little bit. So before I took this FMLA, um, I called home and I said, "Hey, like I relapsed, guys. Like I'm in it bad, and I need to figure something out. I need to do something." So I moved back in with Nana. Um, from my apartment uptown. So I came home with her, and she was trying to help, and I couldn't stop doing it. I was still stuck bad. And this was right in the beginning of me going to Kensington, so I was still mostly copping up here, but I would go down sometimes. Like I said, about once a week, but my daily habit was stuff from up here, and that was just straight fentanyl. So I'm telling her that I'm trying to detox, or that I'm clean, or this, that, and the other. I'm faking taking Suboxone, so I would act like I took it and spit it out, and just the whole charade that comes with active addiction. Like, and at the time, I'm still working at the jail. Like, I really couldn't believe where I had ended up again. Um, and um, as this goes on, eventually I decide, like, I've had enough, right? So I take Suboxone a little bit after I took fentanyl, and what
Oh
I didn't
no.
realize,
Oh
yeah,
no. I had one of them, bro. Oh no. Go ahead, bro. Go
mm,
ahead. Oh no.
yeah. So with heroin, you can take Suboxone about 8 hours after your last shot, because heroin has a short half life. It's like minutes. I think it's like 20 minutes or something. Whereas tranq has a half life of, I think, like 20 hours,
Damn.
something crazy like that. So what it does is it sits in your fat cells, and it sticks to your fat cells.
Yeah.
So even though you're not physically high, the tranq is still in your system, or
Yeah.
the fentanyl rather. Um, so I didn't know that. So I took a Suboxone 8 hours after my last shot, when I started to feel like I was getting pretty sick, and I was not ready for what happened next.
Oh
So
no.
as you know, it's called precipitated withdrawal, and what that means is it forces withdrawal onto your body by ripping off the fentanyl receptors on your brain and replacing them with Suboxone. But Suboxone can't reach the level of high that fentanyl gives you.
Right.
So if if fentanyl gets you this high, Suboxone can only ever get you this high.
Mm.
So what it does is it rips these receptors off down to this point, and that takes a few hours.
Yeah.
So what happens is you're in full withdrawal.
Times 100, bro.
It's absolutely unbelievable. Puking, shaking, shivering, teeth chattering, teeth grinding, sweats, nausea, cramps, headache, body aches. You can't even imagine. Like, if you
Nah,
thought withdrawal was bad,
nah.
try this out, man. Whew. Um,
I remember I couldn't first time it had because it happened to me twice and I was in a hotel in Manhattan, man, the first time it happened. And I remember I couldn't find a spot, like I couldn't lay still, I couldn't sit still, I couldn't stand still, but I would try to, like, lay it off or like sleep it off or whatever. So what I would do is I would just move throughout the room. I would go from couch to bed to chair to bath to, like, it was the most just, oh my god, man.
Yep, I laid in the bathtub, dude. I laid in the
Yeah.
bathtub with the hot water on, and just sat there shivering until there was no more hot water left.
Damn.
We used up all the water out of the heater, so then I got out and I laid on the floor, and I was like having seizures.
Yeah.
Um, it was like it, it felt, and I think I was tripping, honestly.
Hmm.
Like, it felt like there was this war for
Hmm.
good and evil going
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
inside of me. It
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
it felt like it was like some spiritual battle. Like,
Yeah.
I swear
So,
I could almost see like this legion of demons versus
yeah.
this like
Yeah.
legion of angels, and I'm in the middle, and there's this clash, and it's like,
So so that's why I said earlier that dope, heroin, opioid, it's an entity, right?
Yeah,
So and I talk a lot about this on this podcast. We talked about this before, that if you think about money, right? Because humanity has given it so much attention and we give it so much energy, it becomes its own entity.
yeah,
Same thing for a weapon, because it's so prevalent in our world. And the same thing goes for opioids, and especially for heroin. It's literally an entity. It's a demonic entity. And I'm so glad you said what you said, because I felt the same exact thing, that
wow,
something was coming out of me. It's an unbelievable experience. Talk about that, man.
yeah, yeah, man. It was like, uh, I really haven't ever experienced anything like that before. It really felt like there was this battle going on, and I don't know if it was for my soul. I don't know if I was tripping. Like I believe in God. I certainly believe in God, but
Mhm.
in a way, I don't know if I'm touch and go on really like talking about it, because I know there's so much, so many people I think have the wrong idea on maybe
Yeah,
what God is and what God means,
yeah,
and they apply this dogma to it, and I think that can take away from the power of what God truly is, and it's,
I
to
agree,
me,
man.
it's this infinite, omniscient, omnipresent, omnipowerful entity or being that exists outside the substrate of the universe, that
Hmm.
is directly responsible for creation every single moment of every single
Hmm.
day. Like
Yeah,
every breath that we take, every
yeah,
move that we make, even movement itself is a gift.
of
And it
course.
and it's like, I don't know, it's gotten diluted down to mean this big guy with a beard floating in the clouds, and that's not what God is, at
Yeah,
least
yeah,
not to me.
especially in the three main religions, man. But I'm glad you say that, yeah, because it's this super consciousness. It's
Yeah,
a lot of people say energy, but I like to use the word force instead of energy. and
yeah,
and we are this consciousness, in the Slavic Vedas. So I'm Slavic, and we have this tradition called the Vedas. It's just like the Hindu Vedas, but it's a lot more extensive. we say
okay.
that we say that God is this super consciousness, and through us, the creator is able to live out all of these experiences and
I believe
touch.
the same thing, man.
Yeah,
That's exactly what I experienced.
yeah,
Like,
and touch the material world through us, man. And it was also so interesting that when you said before that we choose to come into this existence, because that's exactly what the Vedic tradition says, is that we chose to create this material world in order to get all of these infinite experiences, but to also test our true nature. Because
yeah,
you can't just be a god or a demigod, or an energy field, and not know if you're positive or you're negative, or what is truly evil or what is truly good. So that's why we co-created this material plane in order to truly test our nature, man. So it's crazy. So yet again, you have this profound spiritual experience, man. How did you come out after this crazy ass withdrawal times 100, man?
um, so the reason that I had taken this Suboxone in the first place was to try to get my shit together, to get back to work and act like a normal human being again. And I was planning on getting onto these subs and like stabilizing, but in fact, the exact opposite happened, and I got quite unstable during that event. And um, I knew that I had to make a change, so I called off on FMLA that night, and then I went to rehab. I called my insurance and told them I needed rehab, and I walked out of that rehab like I don't know, 3 days later. Um, like that's a thing that I've done a lot of times, man. I've been to over 30 rehabs,
Damn.
um, at least 20 hospital stays, as many
Wow.
detoxes. Um, like not to compare and say one is worse than the other because
Mhm.
addiction is equally bad for everyone who
Yeah.
experiences it.
Yeah.
But I'm a very bad drug addict. When
Yeah.
I'm using drugs, I go all out until something happens. Most of the time, anyway. So, like I said, these experiences that happened to me in the past with this otherworldly or spiritual intervention that
Mhm.
seems to have occurred for me is so meaningful and powerful to me because I know the way that I use drugs and it's no holds barred. Like it doesn't matter. Once I start to use, that's the only thing that matters after a certain point. And for me to be able to have stopped, a couple of different times because of what was seemingly something divine really solidified my belief into a higher power even more so through
Yeah.
those experiences.
Yeah. It's insane, man.
Yeah,
It's incredible. It's incredible, and I think, man, as bad as I'm gonna sound right now, but and I'm sorry, I'm kind of sorry for saying this, but I think that this was a part of your journey all along, man. That you were supposed to see these extremely hellish, psychological and spiritual places and events, in order to come out where you have come out and bring this message into the world. And especially imagine that right now it's the worst for America it- that it has ever been. I mean, we're losing like 135,000 people a year to fentanyl. You know what I'm saying?
insane. Yeah, I'm not sure what the latest numbers are, but last year it was one person every 5 minutes, man.
Yeah, so imagine and your story is developing while all of this is happening, and to even add on to that, your another extreme side of the story started when this whole fentanyl, pandemic has gotten real bad, and when COVID was happening. And so, yeah, man, I don't, I know that you took it took a big toll on you. I know that, you went to some places where not a lot of people will ever get to go to, but I think that it's part of that sacrifice, that you had to go through, man.
I
Um
do too.
yeah, in the story of in the many stories of, saints and sages and people like that, we repeatedly hear the same story. We hear that people have to go to these, extreme they have to go to extreme places in order to come out, and to bring back something from that hell. A lot of people, when we think of like biblical prophets or whatever, they all had crazy stories. When we think of Moses killed someone in a market and then had to go on a run in order to, go through his spiritual journey. Um a lot of it, again, I'm going back to Christ, going through the crucifixion and everything. And or like Padre Pio, I don't know if you heard, there was this Italian saint that was experiencing stigmata. And stigmata is basically when, it's a manifestation of
The
the
wounds of
wounds and
Christ.
everything that, yeah, Christ, experienced, man. So not to put this humongous cross on your back, but I think that, man, as sad as it is, man, I think that this was part of your destiny all along, part of your journey, man. You were supposed to. Because I'll tell you another thing, man. So about like 8 months ago, I lost a brother of mine, a partner of mine. Like he was an older brother to me, and he was a 50-year-old guy. Super rich family. Like he was a super nice family guy, everything like that. And then he gets cancer. He's 50 years old, and he just dwindles. Like within a year, he dies. and
Yeah.
and and no getting to know your story, got me thinking about a lot of, like mortality and our mission and our purpose and everything. So I'm thinking to myself, like, wow, Daniel, my brother, right? Like, there was a reason why he didn't get another chance to do what he did. And then I look at you, and I'm like, wow, he did get that chance. And that chance happened for a purpose. There was a reason why, you know, you basically died and came back, man. This is crazy.